Welcome to another episode of Pivot. Today, we have Anthony Samadani with us. He's an attorney that turned TV and film producer. But in the middle of his TV and film career, he got diagnosed with Crohn's disease, and it really gave him a huge perspective and a radical new viewpoint on life, causing him to look at how do I create more conscious, positive media. Today, he is the co-owner of the Good News Network, and he is bringing that to be the number one conscious media, positive content for TV and film around the globe. Please welcome Anthony Samadani.
Thank you.
How you doing?
Doing great. It's great to see you.
It's great to see you too. Thank you so much for joining.
Of course.
Now, I know that you've had one of the biggest pivots in your life was when you got diagnosed with Crohn's disease, and we really relate to that because I also have it, and that was one of our bonding moments in our past. But, you know, if you look across your life and you see where were there some big pivots? Because one of the things that when I was introducing you, I'm like, okay, attorney to creative, right? So when did that happen? And was there some kind of pivot that caused you to say, I'm not going to really do law anymore, and I'm going to start getting into content and producing?
You know, I don't know if it was like a gradual thing.
Okay.
But I didn't necessarily actually I didn't wake up or in college say, I want to be a lawyer either. That was
so how did that happen?
Yeah, because I grew up in Virginia, and there's 5 of us kids, and I was the oldest boy. I had an oldest sister. I have an older sister. And my dad was a pretty successful businessman at one point, and then lost everything because of a bad contract he did. And I remember that he said to the 5 of us, one of you has to be a lawyer. Like, it just has to happen.
How old were you in this?
Oh man, I think I was in senior in high school or something, and my oldest sister was in college. I said, maybe I'll do it, Dad. So it was that sort of was like the seed that got planted in my head. I do like justice. I like the idea of fighting for the little guy. I've always picked the underdog for some reason. So I felt like, okay, maybe this is what I'll do. There's another series of events that got me to go from East Coast to West Coast when I came out here for law school. Again, kind of blinded. I could pretend I had this beautiful, incredible plan, but I didn't. It was just I was following some whimsical, I'll just show up and see what happens. And I was thinking maybe I'll do it for a year and then I'll transfer back to Virginia.
Okay.
Because I'm like a mama's boy, like God rest my mom. So like I was like couldn't be not away from my family. So I was out here for a year, and then now if I go back. Because I think an interesting pivot happened so I grew up my dad came from Iran when he was 17.
Okay.
And my mom was American as apple pie, as they say, or whatever, Christian. And so we had this really interesting upbringing spiritually. Uh-huh. And so talk about a pivot. I felt like I was always trying to find my own identity in that. So it's like, Tony Samadani, everyone thinks, you must be Italian, Catholic maybe. But I believed in just the Spirit of God and liked a lot of the rituals of Islam, but through that same event where my dad lost his business, my mom started getting into more spirituality, and she started getting into Islam, but knew nothing about it. Just started reading about it, right? Just so that was such an interesting thing for me. So then when I went to college and I was an international studies major, but then I got to a minor in religion, really thinking through this, and I just had this calling. I didn't know what it was. It was just like this good guy calling, this conscious God. And then when I was coming over here for law school, I did a prayer. It was 1997. I was like, I remember in the airplane, I was like, God, I don't know how long I'm supposed to be out here, but because this is no cell phones, like, if I just help me meet someone that can make me feel like my authentic self, whatever that is. And then again, through another series of events, I moved up to LA to finish law school. And I met Muhammad Ali and his oldest child, May one day, actually the first day of principal photography of the movie Ali. And that changed it, of course. So they both became instrumental in my life. She's actually the only person I still have as a client.
Wow.
So those were my formidable years. So graduated law school, started working in entertainment law, which I felt like, I always had this again, I wasn't a cinephile. I wasn't like focused on trying to make movies or produce anything or write. I just had stories in my head, and I just wanted, I love the arts, but more so, I took this class in college that was called War Through Film,
Okay.
and it really had a profound impact on me. Because I'm like, wow. And then you study the Bible, the Quran, the Torah, these books, it's all storytelling.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, like, you can tell stories to motivate to do good, or you can tell stories to motivate to do not so good. And that's
So
what the whole
true.
War Through Film. And so I said, wow, imagine if we can be on that side of good. And so that was the impetus of where I was going. And then obviously Muhammad, God rest his soul, he had a profound impact on me. I can go on and on about that, but that I think that was, and then May was in the arts. She's like the humanitarian of her family. She's the oldest of the 11 kids, and she was a comedian, actress. So we were like, that really got me. Okay, I'll represent you, but then maybe I'll get into. So we her and I co-created a show that we sold to Comedy Central. So I was like, oh, I like this.
Yeah.
This is and I remember in the room at Comedy Central, the only thing that we showed them was a sketch that I wrote. I'm not a comedian. Like, I don't know if I'm even that funny, but it was a funny sketch,
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. And then when I was in law school, Maud Nadler, who was over at HBO at the time, I had this wacky idea for like a real life Truman Show type. Mm-hmm. And I sold it to them in the room. I'm like, this is easy. This is going to be the most. Wasn't so easy.
But what I love, and I think to pause for this for the people that are listening, that, sometimes we might not know where we're going, but we learn to say yes.
Yeah.
Right? And you took a moment and you had a prayer and said, I want to find my most authentic self. And you weren't sure where that would lead you or how that would unfold, but you showed up and you engaged and you allowed that to go with where it took you. And I think that that's so important because so many people block themselves. They get so stuck in their mind and they say, no, I came out here for this, or this is my goal, or these are the next steps that I have to make in this process in order to create this or do this or whatnot. But sometimes if you just listen and respond to what's happening in front of you, it might lead you places that you never even thought.
Sure. Yeah, that's what I look back and it's showing up for sure, showing up and just trusting. When you look back at most of these people's lives, if you look at, I don't know, whoever you respect from a professional or spiritual, or whatever movie you love, it's always these series of fateful events. I met my wife how I met my wife was completely like these moments, right?
Yeah.
And so if you know that fate can intervene, God, whatever you want to call it, at any time, then today could be a very miraculous day. And so having that type of attitude to show up, be conscious of what you're trying to do, but not so rigid. Maybe some would want me to be more rigid, but like as a lawyer, you should be really good at details. I don't see details as much. I just see big picture and ideas. So I realized I had to surround myself with those who see details, right? Because
Yeah.
some people who see details can't see the bigger picture. So that's really, it was just like a gradual thing. Like, May and I started doing it. And then I had an agent. And I'm still practicing law, but I went to the president of the company, Robbie Little, and I said, your acquisitions team is only a few people, and every night there's screenings for movies or festivals. Mm-hmm. I was like, I'd love to go see some of these, He said, you can do whatever you want. I was like, I know, but I like to have a card to get me in these places. So I was like, you don't have to pay me. Just give me a coordinator of acquisitions. And I'll do it for free. I'll do my legal job during the day, and at night I'll go to these movies and screenings. And then I kept on doing that. At one point, the CFO came and said, you got to make a choice. Are you going to be a lawyer, or do you want to get into producing? And I was only I graduated, I think was 26 at this time.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, I showed too much card. I was too honest.
Yeah.
Right? Because he's not wrong. Like here, if I'm going to promote you to the next level up as in-house counsel, you can't be doing this acquisition stuff. You know what I mean? Pick your lane. And I'll never forget, he sat me down in his office, and I was like, yeah, I don't think I really want to do this law stuff, per se. And he's like, cool. Well, then I think you need to be doing this. And it was just probably not the wisest thing to say out loud. I probably should have taken a couple deep breaths and said, let me get back to you. But that really then, I decided at that moment, okay, let me just take some clients on the side.
Yeah.
Let me figure out this producing thing. And
Interesting.
yeah, so that I viscerally remember that meeting going, don't say it out loud. And I said it out loud. Like,
But then that's also, we go through and we look at points in our life of sometimes it's the things that we do that we shouldn't do
Yeah.
that are actually so much of our beautiful gifts, right?
Yeah.
It's like that help propel you maybe further away from law faster, right? And I know that you still practice and things like that and still part of you, but it kind of pushed you into that direction because now,
Yeah.
so here you go. Now you've kind of created this, whether you wanted
what do
it
I
or not.
do? Yeah. And I was, a kid in a candy shop, single guy out here. My brothers were out here. We were enjoying life in LA. And I was like, I wanted to get serious. And so, May helped keep me serious on the spiritual side of things.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, my family's very close to me. And then I started, again, we sold stuff, but doesn't mean it went on air. And it was like, okay, this is not fun. I knew the business side, and then the creative side was confusing to me. The model was a little bit distorted.
Yeah.
And then I met an agent who, God rest his soul, he passed away. She introduced me to Mark Coops and Ben Silverman right after, before they sold Reveille. And so they, created The Biggest Loser, The Office, Ugly Betty Tutors. And then, it was funny because Mark optioned 3 pitches right there in the room. I was like, oh man, this is like, I'm really good at getting this part done. Like, how do I get the stuff on air? Yeah.
You're like, I got it, but it's all going to change.
Yeah. So, and then I remember I went home to Virginia just to celebrate or something. And then I read that Mark left Reveille after it sold to Shine and stuff. Anyway, and at that moment, you never know why someone, but I remember texting him saying, I'd love to figure out how to work together. And he called me up and said, hey, let's start working out of my house. Like I would show up to his house in Studio City. Now I'm already married at this time. And my wife's like, what are you doing again? I'm like, I don't know. I'm just
showing up.
Showing up. Let's see this reality thing. And anyway, now that's been, going on 15 years. I left them after my Crohn's, but for 10 years, we just started producing content.
Yeah.
We were one of the channels that when YouTube gave everyone like $5 million, we were one of the channels and started producing a bunch of content. That's when I started, okay, this is fun because you can have a creative idea and then you can put it out on social, or we sold a few shows, but something was still missing.
Yeah. And so during this time is when you get diagnosed with Crohn's disease.
Well, I say that just because it's an easier story to say.
Gotcha.
I had been diagnosed prior to that. I just didn't believe it.
Okay.
And it wouldn't bother me.
So the symptoms weren't that bad.
Symptoms like, it's like not that bad.
Okay.
I should have taken it more serious because my brother has ulcerative colitis and was hospitalized, but he cured himself holistically. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I'll just cure myself holistically too.
Yeah.
If it ever happens,
And if something isn't in your face and you're not having a lot of interference with your day-to-day life, it's easy to dismiss something.
Exactly.
Right?
Especially like something like Crohn's, if it's not bothering you, too bad. So then, faithfully, I got married. We're going on 17 years now, which is wild.
Amazing.
Yeah. We 2 kids. So at that time when it got bad, when I really got bad, it was 2016-ish.
Okay.
Right. Not quite sure when we met. We met 2019, maybe?
17.
17. Okay. Yeah, because I was already in pain when I met you.
Yeah.
So 2016, and I remember I had 2 shows on air, and one just got Emmy nominated, Crossroads of History, and we just bought our first house. All these things were going well.
Yeah.
If I'm honest with myself, what I am now, there was still something bothering me. I'm not talking about the pain.
No, but like there wasn't feeling.
Yeah, I was just like, I feel like I always, my whole life, besides my personal relationships, like completely professional, I was always 1 foot in, 1 foot out. So, I mean, in everything, I look back at when I first started working at 14 at Domino's, to every job I've had, it's always sort of 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Like I wasn't fully committed, which is never a good thing for the employer or yourself. You know?
Same thing when you were just telling the story of, going and doing the screenings and doing
exactly. 1 foot in, 1 foot out, right?
Yeah.
So I just felt like, gosh, am I just, and I was always jealous of everyone that just knew, like I loved, like you look at artists, like artists, I mean the who paint or whatever, or musicians or athletes, you're like, you just know what you want. Like you can just practice, like it's just a matter of dedication and time and obviously a lot of luck, but what an awesome thing to do that this is what you want.
Yeah.
And you can just monomaniacally focus on that. I didn't have any of that. And I was known as this good guy, this optimistic guy. I loved making people feel good.
Yeah.
That fueled me. But I didn't know the science of that or anything. So jump forward, I have these shows. And, Mark and Eric Day, the company Beautiful Souls, love those guys. But again, as a producer, especially as a reality show producer or TV producer, you're just getting whatever the networks are looking for. You just create and try to, it's like the mudslide principle, right? It just wasn't for me. Anyway, so then I really get severe pain. And so I go see this amazing Jim LaValle functional medicine doctor and does all this, crazy workups. And he's like, it's 50% what you put here and 50% what you put here. And he's like, I can work on your nutraceuticals, what you should and shouldn't eat, but you got to work up here. I said, Doc, what are you talking about, man? I pray 5 times a day. I got this, I got that. I told him all these great things I got going on, right?
I'm Mr. Optimistic.
Yeah, what's up? What do you mean? I can wear my heart on my sleeve. I mean, and he was like, and he's such a cool dude. He's like, I'm sure, but your body's telling me something different. And I was like, whoa, okay, I got to take this serious because this is out of whack. And so I told my wife, I was like, you're going to have to be my sugar mama for a little bit because I'm going to stop producing.
Yeah.
Right. So finished those seasons, took a break. And in that process, this is the biggest gift I have is Crohn's by far. One of them. I mean, as far as like something that seems like a negative.
Yeah.
Because it's a disease where they don't really know, how you get it. It's genetic stress, environment stuff. It's all of that, I think.
Yeah.
But I think we all have inflammation. We all have certain triggers in our body, right? So anyway, I started looking at Facebook and realizing it was like Hillary or Trump, right?
Yeah.
It was that moment. And more than that, but as a lawyer, you love debating this stuff, know? I just was like, I can't fuel myself anymore with this stuff. I have to be positive. I got to protect what I'm putting in my mind.
Yeah.
I became so much more conscious of the information I was incorporating in my mind. And so I went to May and I said, hey, there's a new thing called Facebook Live. Why don't we just talk about good news? And she's like, I'd love that. I was like, I'll come to your house. When? When do you want to do it? I was like, pick any day. I don't care. She's like, how about this date? She picked this date in the future. Her dad was still alive at the time. She's like, well, on this date, on this Friday, we're going to go live. I said, great. In that process, which was like a 2-week process, her dad passed away.
Oh, wow.
We go to Louisville, Kentucky. I was blessed to go to both the Islamic funeral as well as the one that millions of people saw all over the world. And then in that day was the day she said we were going to go live about good news, and she did a poem to her dad in front of millions of people, a positive story of love. And so I said, May, look at the date. She's like, oh, that's wild. I said, we couldn't make the story up. Your dad was alive when we made this day. She's like, we need to do something with this, right? So that was a powerful moment for me. And then a couple other spiritual things happened that, this really it reinforced. So we go back home. I said, okay, pick another date. And so we go and I Google, well, what are we going to talk about? So I Google good news. And the first website that pops up is Good News Network. And I instantly start feeling better reading these stories of hope and awe. And so I looked up, and the woman that had Manassas, Virginia, I'm like, I grew up like 10 minutes away from there. And so I called Jerry Weiss-Corbally, the founder. I said, and if you meet her, and you met her, she doesn't trust that many people, right? She's very, focused on what she needs to do. That's hence why she has such an incredible website, because a lot of people have tried to buy her or do these things around the time. So since 1997, she's been running this website. She taught herself HTML coding to just pop it up. She's so sick of the negativity.
Yeah.
And because of that, there's almost 30,000 articles.
Wow.
Not a dollar spent on marketing. She gets about 2.5, sometimes 3 million uniques a month, and just built up this core business. I mean, not a business, but something she's been running with her son or her daughter. And she gave me admin access, and me and May started sharing some good stories. But I wasn't thinking anything about business. I was just talking to people from around the world, just sharing good. Yeah, that was the beginning of the seed.
See, I didn't know how it all unfolded and started, but listening again, right? You just knew you have this naturopathic doctor that's telling you, hey, there's a 50% in your mind too, and in that moment, you're like, come on, I'm one of the most positive people. I'm doing this. And then you're realizing when you start to reflect upon it, you open up your Facebook or the news and you see, okay, it's just these politicians fighting and talking bad about each other. Everybody's at odds. It's all this negativity, drama, and trauma because it grabs people's attention. It's what sells, and it's becoming more and more extreme to hold the attention span, right? And you're like, wait a second here. This doesn't feel good,
Yeah.
right? And you just did what was in your heart. And it led you to enroll one of your friends and say, hey, May, do you want to do this? Are you sick of this bad content too?
Yeah.
And it just unfolded in a way that you couldn't even imagine.
No.
And then Jerry ends up having to live 10 minutes away from where you grew up.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you can't make this stuff
No,
up, but this
no.
is the magic of life.
That's right.
I always say that you take one foot forward and God takes 3 steps for you, right? Walks 3 steps beside you. But you have to take that step,
Yeah.
right? You have to make that phone call to enroll a friend. You have to pick up the phone and say, you know what, I don't know this person, but I'm just going to say I love your site and see
Yeah.
what comes of it.
Yeah. I mean, what I said to her was, because, millions of people see her, but it's like, I said, can I get admin access to your Facebook page? Because at that time, I don't know how it works now, but
just right away in the first couple minutes.
Yeah. It was just wild. It was like, because I had I don't know, a couple hundred friends on Facebook. I don't know what it was. But May was capped at 5,000. At that time,
those
you
were the
had
caps,
whatever,
yeah.
you had to verify or something. So I was like, the whole time we were just planning on using May's Facebook account. And, at that time, I think she had 400,000 fans or whatever it was. And she's like, who are you? And anyway, she's like, yeah. You bet this doesn't happen. Right? So anyway, we started just doing this for almost like 20 different shows. No, me and May were just, I love being around May. So it was a kind of an excuse just to hang out and share some good, right? I look back at the old videos, it cracks me up. And then Jerry, her kids were all out, growing out of the house. She didn't tell me that she kind of told me she was thinking about moving. She moves to Santa Barbara just to be honest, she just wanted to be closer to me also. And she's like, I want you as a business partner. And I'm like, I don't know anything about websites or any of this, but I felt very protective of her. And then one of my buddies, I won't mention his name, but he was like, he's a great soul, but he's like, I think there's a business that GNN's just a kernel could be I think this needs to, and he goes, can you set up a meeting with her? And I was like, sure. But then I was like, I had this weird feeling of jealousy. At the same time, trying to protect her at the same time, and or also, why didn't I think about trying to do something bigger with her when she clearly wants to?
Yeah.
Anyway, so I set the meeting up, and great meeting. He leaves. She goes, "What was that about?" And I was like, "Wow, he's a great asset. He's a businessman." She's like, "No, I want to work with you." And I was like, "Oh." And that moment, we just kind of committed to each other. But it wasn't. It was like, okay, she's not stressed to come up with a plan right away. So it was like, I want to get back into producing. All right. I know the website can use overhaul. The newsletter could use something. I didn't know what to do. I just knew I wanted to be around it. I think around that time that I met you. And synchronicity, a lot of other people came in my life professionally. Everyone's like, there's something here. But stuck to it. And then I think it was beginning of 2020. We were shooting out of your studio, a couple cool podcast stuff. I had sold a big TV show, 10 episodes, scripted. It's like a biblical Braveheart type show. Shooting in Bulgaria, June 1st of 2020. I remember a bunch of us, including Jerry, go down to Cabo in January 2020 to celebrate. This is going to be a big year. And everything got canceled, So, it was a confusing time. But then I started seeing that Jerry ran an article called The Pandemic Positives that did really well. It was like the silver lining of all the things that are still positive. And I was like, wow, that's a really interesting way of looking at things. And then it began to resonate me with Wayne Dyer's quote he always would say about quantum physics, that if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change, which is a la your whole podcast of pivoting.
Yeah.
And so I just was on that mission to really rethink the strategy on what I'm doing with my time. And then but I still had to heal,
Yeah.
right? I'm happy to go into that journey, but I had to find a way. When I met you, you knew I had to find a way to start healing.
Yeah.
You know,
And so it's like all of these pieces were kind of coming together, but yet there was still the internal piece that
Yeah.
needed. And so you kind of got knocked out for a little bit too,
Yeah.
right? And it's like this movement was happening, things were progressing, and then, when was that? 2021, 2022? So we're at,
2022.
so we're at like the 2020. This whole, the world shuts down, the world locks down, and you're noticing also the power of the positivity more so again, front and center. Are you having ideas of where you want to take the website and GNN at that point, or are you still kind of just percolating
Man,
ideas?
honestly, yeah. I mean, what we're doing today, perhaps there's some kernel of ideas back then,
But not.
but it was like, I knew I had to stick with it.
Yeah.
That was probably the most frustrating part, if I'm honest, because I knew I had to stick with it. It was like one thing I couldn't just pivot away from. And that was frustrating because it wasn't bringing in any money,
Yeah.
right? I couldn't get paid.
But was it?
Oh, it was-
remember
it was
that,
a-
that feeling, because you were saying everything else. It felt like you were 1 foot in, 1 foot out.
100%.
Was this the one thing where you felt like I'm in it, but where's the other stuff?
Yes. Well, I still feel like I was 1 foot in, 1 foot out.
Okay.
I was all in on helping her and doing something with it. But what?
Yeah.
My wife's like, what I'm saying? We got some bills. I knew I had to generate some cash. And I didn't want to go back to just traditionally producing or go back and just do that same thing that, didn't really serve me per se. But here's what I did. I was around I read a lot of books. I liked, the spiritual stuff. I liked certain motivational speakers, as they call whatever. But I didn't connect with a lot of people who spoke to speak or speak to speak. Like, I definitely resonate with those who are speaking about something that they lived through, right? It's just not just, here's a bunch of formulas,
Yeah.
but something that they actually changed their life. Well, that's why I love this podcast, right? Because you get to learn and listen real stories,
Yeah.
of change and just kernel of ideas that can spark something inside you, right? I say that for a reason because at that time, I listened to a documentary about a guy who spent 23 years on death row, and heard his voice. I was just so captivated by his story, obviously Nick Yaris. And at that time, Nick was coming into LA for some event. I had started doing this charity event with Allie Landry, where we were helping car seat safety awareness.
Okay.
I was just hustling, trying to do good.
Yeah.
And her husband, Alejandro Monteverde, had just, as a film director, his father and brother were kidnapped and executed. So he went through a deep, dark space. He was just rising from that emotional thing after like 7 months. So at this charity event, I had Alejandro come and Nick come, and it was like, hey, I got a gift for you guys. Like, you guys should meet.
Wow.
And now we're doing a movie on his life, right? And it's and who would have thought that Alejandro would then go on, since we last met, and write and direct and produce Sound of Freedom, which is like the second highest grossing independent film of all time. So, but these moments were there. So I felt a spark again, and I got to tell Nick's story in a really powerful way. But how?
Yeah.
Right. And I shared something with, I think you in the past, but I definitely shared with Nick and a couple others. I started, one of the shows I had on television was called Hatched, and it was like we hatch products into retail. It's like similar structure. We partnered with Walmart and HSN and some other big Brent Mondelez. And in that process, I met a lot of investors and probably like 300 entrepreneurs. And I heard passion and purpose constantly be thrown around.
Yeah.
And so when I was sitting back, because I'm trying to think, what am I supposed to do? And you hear some people say, follow your passions, the thing that you do for free, the thing that just, you can't stop thinking about all the time. And I felt there was some truth to that, but I don't know, well, okay, what? The whole half foot in, half foot out,
Yeah.
right? So I just simply go, okay, what's the definition of purpose? And one of the main definitions is the reason for which something exists or was created. So I said, okay, well, by definition, then human beings were created for the same purpose. From God, Allah, Jesus, Buddha, universe, whatever you call the source.
Yeah.
The source, by definition, that created what, this coffee, this microphone's created for a reason. It could be used differently,
Yeah.
but it was created. So I said, okay. And then this sentence came to me. Write this down. Everyone shares the same purpose. And it's to do good for yourself and others daily. And I said, that can't be that easy. And I swear I spent like months trying to debunk that. And I couldn't. I was like, wow, this is, to serve your creator, to serve your existence is to do good for yourself and others daily. I started thinking about the airplane thing when they said, put the mask on yourself and then, your child, which is counterintuitive, right?
Yeah.
So you got to take care of yourself. So I like the sound of that because it made me, because I'm trying, what do I do today?
Yeah.
Right? And I said, well, hold on a second. Why am I so worried about hustling? Oh, I got to get money.
Yeah.
I got to pay bills. Well, what's currency? And I started going through this rabbit hole that ended up helping me. But it's like, well, in this room right here, or anybody listening, we could line up rich to poor, black and white assets, right? But what we don't know is the only currency we actually share in common is time. And we can't, whoever's listening, if we added everyone up, we wouldn't know who's rich or poor in time.
Yeah.
We think of time as a currency. Can I borrow your time? Don't waste my time. Spend your time wisely. We know that death and taxes, they say, are the only guarantees. So I was like, okay, currencies depreciate and appreciate, but time only depreciates. How do we appreciate it? Like, how do we? And then it was like I went down a rabbit hole. Like, well, how can I manage what I don't know how to measure? How can I measure something I don't know how to manage? I don't know how much time I have left. Would I be here? Would I have driven an hour to come to your podcast if I knew how much time I had left?
Yeah.
It's a great question that we don't ask ourselves any part of our day. The people who ask themselves that are those mostly in hospice. So I started volunteering for hospice, got certified, and it was selfish, but I wanted to go see. Yeah. And a lot of them didn't speak, so I was talking to their relatives. And those that did speak, I would say, you have a purpose. I know you only have 6 weeks, you're told. But if you're here, you got to do something today. Yeah. What do you mean? You got to do good for yourself and others today. And it was like, oh, maybe they have to ask for forgiveness. Maybe they need to, tell someone, whatever it may be, or they could, say, forgive someone. It was just, it was healing me. I'm like healing. So I'm like, oh, you're
healing, but also they're healing. Like, imagine for those that could communicate and could hear that, to know that somebody sees them, right? That you have a purpose. They might feel like, okay, I'm being left for death, right? But no, you're still here, and there's a reason you're here. So,
that's right. That's right.
How much of a beautiful gift did you give each of those souls?
Oh, it was so selfish. I did it because I was here. I did it because I knew that I needed to. But yes, I think that it probably helped a lot. But it was really awareness to me that this person, this beautiful soul that was told they have a couple weeks left, could outlive me. I could die in a car accident or whatever it may be, right? There's no guarantee in this time that we have.
Yeah.
But they're so much more conscious. Their relatives are so much more conscious of, and no one ever says, I wish I made more money or had more fame or had more power. They always say, I wish I spent more time with my family, my loved ones, did more good. Yeah. That's really the thing. We all know this, but we get distracted by the noise. We're constantly bombarded. And there's a science behind it. There's a reason why we're distracted. Yeah. So I started like, okay, there's something here. And in this, I said, but I'm now I've become conscious of it. Now what do I do with my time? Yeah. Right? And, and then I said, well, that passion word comes up a lot. So what's the definition of passion? And one main definition is an intense desire or enthusiasm to do something. So I said, okay, that makes sense. And then I was like, but I'm not trying to write a speech here. I'm trying to figure out a cheat sheet. And so
you're trying to figure out.
What am I supposed to do?
But this is so good.
How am I supposed to make money?
How many people are listening that to take it and to chunk it down so simply?
Yeah.
that you're literally reading the definition of these words and
Yeah.
being like, okay, well, let me
Yeah.
find myself here. Okay, what is purpose? This is
Yeah.
purpose. What is passion? This
Yeah.
is passion. And then taking a moment to listen,
Yeah.
right? And then you're testing what comes through, and you're like, this is really this simple? Come
Yeah.
on, where does this not hold true? And you're not finding that.
Nope. Christine, it was like we had I said, but I need, like, how I pass the bar. I think every law student can pass. Most of us know the information. It's at that time when I took it was 3 days, 6 hours, grueling, right? It's just a mental game,
Yeah.
right? They don't even tell you what subjects are on there, right? So you just imagine 3 years, right? I'm like, how am I? I mean, my memory's not the best. So mnemonics and like cheat sheets, right? And so I was like, I need to cheat sheet this for myself because what I noticed about and there's a great entrepreneur I interviewed once. He's the billionaire founder of Viome, Naveed. He goes, life is like your heartbeat, ups and downs. He's like, trust me, you never want it flat,
Yeah.
right? And so I was like, man, that's a really good way of looking at it, right? So you just got to prepare for those moments, right? So I'm in part of my faith of why I pray all the time is because I'm going to be high from this conversation, but reality there's other things that will come in. So you got to constantly remind yourself.
Yeah.
And so the cheat sheet was we only, from the time we wake up to the time we go to bed, and I say we, 'cause it used to be me, but I realize it's everybody now. No one I don't think could debunk it, but we'll see, is you only follow 3 passions. Everything you do from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed, you are pursuing either your personal, your professional, or your spiritual passions. And so when I was able to put it in 3 easy buckets, I was like, this is easy. I can gamify this. So like I woke up to pray this morning. I called it good currency.
Yeah.
So I gave myself a spiritual good currency. Okay, focused on that. That's good. I accomplished that. Took my kids to school, personal good currency. Okay, did that. Came over here, professional. Then I realized that when you're really in tune, you're lucky. Sometimes you can get all 3 in the same time, like this moment right now, right? This is personal, professional, and spiritual. And that's like the gold. That's like trifecta, right? So I know that I'm spending my time wisely because I'm consciously aware of the action. And when I went through this exercise, it wasn't to create a journal or this is just for me. And so I was like, okay, personally, I want to be healthy, good father, good brother, good son, husband, professional, work on projects to scale good, spiritual, please God. And so I had to become conscious of what I wanted to do. And then I would just write my intentions for the day. And then the actions that I had to do to get there. But what I realized was, holy cow, the results are meaningless. Because the results are where you leave it up to fate, God, or whatever you call it. But here's what's crazy. We judge ourselves and others based on results. It's a wacky scenario. That's why we're all sick,
Yeah.
mentally and physically and spiritually.
Yeah.
Because
And then we further judge the result.
We judge.
And we say, this was a good result or a bad result instead of it was just.
when we don't even know what. So where we need to judge ourselves are, did we make the right intention,
Yeah.
honestly? And did we prepare to do that intention? You called me, you said today's date. You gave me a time, you gave me an address. I said, yes, I intended to be here today. I woke up this morning, I went to prayer, I did my gym, I took my kids to school, and I said, well, it's going to be an hour to get here. I can get there a half hour early. That's better to prepare because of traffic. I did everything I could, but who could have stopped a car accident? I swear when I was driving up here, right before me, there was a car that almost slammed into something. And I just was like, wow, that was it. Like, maybe I would have survived or something like that, but I wouldn't have made the podcast on time.
Yeah.
Right? And what happens? I freak out that you're upset that I'm not here. Even though we're friends, I'm just saying in general.
Yeah.
And we base ourselves on the result. Oh, my whole day's thrown off.
Yeah.
Or if we just give grace, did you try your best? And they said yes, then let it go.
Yeah.
It's very hard to do, but that's what I realized was causing the stress, right? And so, and then as I started practicing this to sort of heal, I noticed that, man, if I take a rock or a piece of glass out of the road, or I sold a show, one good currency.
Yeah.
And then I realized that
So you took away the
Pressure.
perceived value
Exactly.
that one is so much better than another because they both have good.
because at hospice, no one says I needed to sell more shows.
Yeah.
And so and then I realized, a lot of times we're like, if let's say there's a bad relationship, you had a bad fight, work sucks, maybe you got, you're feeling spiritually deficient, whatever it may be. But let's just focus on work. You're like, you know what? It's a Monday. It's brutal. It's tough. You're like, God, I just want to get through the week,
Yeah.
right? So I can relax. Well, if you're conscious about time, do you really want to waste 5 days?
No.
No. So I started going, I can just, if you're conscious of it, you're like, I'm just going to say today's a professional crappy day. It just sucks. But I could earn good currency spiritually and personally today.
Yeah.
And so I would write it down. And then I wanted to spend it. So I created this whole thing. Okay, I'm going to go golfing with my brothers. That's 200 good currency. So I just gamified this whole system.
Oh, that's
And-
amazing.
Yeah. And people were like, I remember right before COVID, I did a speech and they were like, you need to do this journal. So I actually created this journal and I haven't done anything with it. It's beautiful. Because I'm like, I'm not know if I'm ready for that yet, but it really helps. But
I think the listeners are going to love to
I
figure out how to
maybe
order
I just
one.
get it a PDF and we just put it out there. So, but it goes to the quantum physics statement. If you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. I do believe good currency could help a lot of people. So, but I met you at a time where I was beginning to really practice this, and then COVID happened and stuff, and you inspired the heck out of me with your energy healings, how you healed from Crohn's, how my brother healed from Crohn's, and I started getting better. And then in November of 21, it was pain happened again. And so from November of 21 to August 11th of 2022, not an hour of reprieve of the most visual pain. I mean, I was taking 6-8 Tylenols a day. My poor sons I was just dropping 10 pounds. I became so I was down to 130. And,
Was there anything that was like it felt out of alignment before, or do you think was
well,
there
I went to go see, that's where it was the most confusing.
Okay, because it sounded like you were like, momentum was going forward. You were
Yes.
practicing the good
Correct.
courtesy. You created like a ledger for yourself that you were
Correct.
recording. You're on the path,
Correct.
right?
Correct. So that's how I was confused. So in 2018, Christmas Eve, I heard that there was a civil rights leader who passed away. I know who he was. And I remember that morning, I told my wife, I'm going to go to this funeral. And she goes, who passed? I go, I don't know. I don't know. I feel called to go. She's like, okay. So I go to this funeral, and there's just I might have been maybe there's 2 other white guys, like all African American, just smiling and enjoying themselves in this. I'm like, gosh, I hope I have that.
Yeah.
It was just the energy was off the charts. But I didn't know anybody, so I just given peace to the graves. I start reading the names, whoever they are. And then I hear someone say something, and we have this exchange, and it's this, 6'4", strong-looking guy, and he had a moment where he thought he was talking to the grave, and I had said something. He thought the grave was talking to him, Tobias Tubbs. Did I introduce you to Tobias yet?
No.
No. I tell everybody I had to know Muhammad Ali as much as I did in his family to know that Tobias Tubbs is a once-in-a-generational human being.
Wow.
I said, where are you from? He said, I'm from there. I was buried alive. Just got out 72 days ago after spending 28 and a half years in prison for murder I didn't do. And at that moment, I just knew I came to meet him.
Wow.
We took this picture that we still have, and to this day, he's one of my closest brothers. He went in at 20 years old and said, I'm going to unite myself with hugs and love versus violence. Never got one single fight, and documentedly helped thousands of men, whites, blacks, browns, unite with peace and love. His story is remarkable. Can't wait to tell it. He read the journal. He's like, this is my formula. This is how I heal myself and others. Not with these exact words,
but I
right?
mean, but like a similar download.
Exactly. So he goes, we need to start a podcast. And he started joining. I was like, and he's like, GNN is the future. He started just having this spiritual feelings. So I was like, okay, let's do something with GNN. So we started a podcast called Live in Good Currency with Tony and Tobias. We started interviewing amazing human beings. But I was really dying. I was just and I was just getting just skinnier pain. I would take these things and just like, I would have to take breaks between the interviews. I was in that much pain.
Wow.
And so looking back, it's hard to look at. Because I was struggling with how could this information be good
And then
if I'm going the opposite direction physically,
yeah,
but spiritually I was on high.
yeah,
And I really felt that was it. Like I wasn't surviving this year. I mean, and everyone looked at me, thought they had the C word or something else was happening, right? My wife I don't know how, she just had this. And we went to finally go see this incredible doctor out of Beverly Hills. It took me 6 months to get to him. And he's like, look, I can help you naturopathically too, but, you got to get surgery. And I went to go see this amazing surgeon at Cedars. He goes, how have you lasted this long? Like, your gut needed to be out. Like, we needed to have operation like 7 years ago. Like, how? So, and that's when the light bulb went off.
that was what was keeping you
That's
alive.
how I was able to go that long. I was already gone at that point. Like my gut, and the thing with our disease, or I don't even like to say ours.
Yeah.
I don't like to whisper. Is they don't know
Yeah,
until they take it out because it's all intertwined. So there's only so much they can do. So I'll never forget. It was like a week before surgery, and I'm at that point, I'm like, not telling anybody that I feel this way. That
Yeah.
I'm not going to be here. But I felt really good about whatever it's meant to be. But I made some promises to God, of course, if I get healthy. 10 days, a week before my surgery, my wife, that was in August, my wife's birthday is December 30th. She was like, we're going to go to Bali, just me and you. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, I'm not going to Bali. And she's like, we're going. We're going to book it. I'm like, I was so weak.
yeah,
And I was like, whatever you do, get insurance. She's like, no insurance. We're going. You'll be fine. Oh my God. And I remember waking up from the surgery, checking and making sure I had everything, And they took it out 22 inches. Successful, reset, and got healthy enough and went to Bali. And so I took all that. And at that point, I said, okay, this is not just a business. This has something like, I got to go do something with this stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
And what's super powerful about that is the way that you reframed and looked at it, right? So many people get stuck in, okay, I'm doing everything right. Why do I have this challenge, this difficulty, this ailment, this disease, this disappointment, whatever, fill in the blank. And they get angry. Maybe they even get angry at God, they get angry at themselves, or they lose faith or hope, right? And they lose that connection. You allowed yourself to, even though you did everything right, you listened for that there's a reason for everything and everything has a reason. And that when you open up to that awareness, you can have the clarity and you can look at something differently. Somebody in that same situation would have maybe even gave up and been like, I'm in so much pain. I was doing everything. I was living a virtuous life. I was on the right track. I was listening to myself. I cleared out some things and been like just devastated. But when you heard that doctor say, you should have been gone, you realize, no, this was what was keeping me alive. I still
Yeah.
needed to heal this, and there was an element of a physicality that needed to be cut out and shifted in you, and your mind was changing, but the physical body, that's like saying, like, if somebody has an injury and they need to heal the bone break, you need a cast, right? Like you can't just like think that your leg is going to, the bones are separated, that they're just going to
Yeah.
meld back together.
Yeah.
And so you still needed to go through the physical healing.
Yeah.
But that was aligning everything for you. And that it gives me like chills, but to like have people like really hear that, because so many people get stuck in the downs in life and these challenges, and they feel that they're being wronged or they're being punished. But in your share, there was no I'm being punished. It was I got a gift.
Yeah. First of all, just being in And I knew about it, but I'm just saying, I'm just watching you right now. You're bringing me like, wow, I can't wait for this to happen. I think part of it is like we're all human. You think you're a fraud,
Yeah.
or maybe this stuff's not very. I got to a point where like it's not so much like I remember my brother, like I told you, my brother's healed himself.
Mm-hmm.
You healed yourself. I'm like, what's happening?
Yeah.
So, those thoughts came to my mind. But what I realized is at that moment, if you believe in these stories of the past, most of these incredible men and women who have done transformative things in life did not live the easiest lives.
Yeah.
So, not to
And
say I'm that, but it allows you to have comfort. If everyone that has had a spiritual and enlightenment to themselves and others lived a very peaceful, happy, perfect life, then you're like, yeah, maybe I'm really something. But that's not the stories that we know
no,
about.
no. And
So
in
you're like,
fact,
okay, I'm not saying I'm them, but yeah, it happens,
yeah.
right? Bad thing, perceived bad things happen to good people. So, yeah, I think it again goes back to that phrase of quantum physics. If you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change, better or for worse.
Yeah.
And so, this is a living, breathing thing that we go through. But yes, so that perspective was like, and again, surrounding myself with great people like Tobias, who was like, could have easily. He said, "I've never lost a day of sleep in prison. I slept like a baby." And I'm like, and then as the cellmates started getting out, he was a lifer. He was serving 2 life sentences without the possibility of parole.
Wow.
And miraculous how he got out. All these people that had gotten out with him are now sharing the stories he shared. Not that I doubted him, but it's just great to have these witnesses in that moment in real life when he had a death sentence, how he was speaking, how he was singing. So having that type of mentor is what I say, like, help me.
Yeah.
Right? It just reassures, no, you're good. You know what I mean? You're good. And obviously having a rock like my wife and my family and my dad and my sisters and my brothers, like everything around me, I was just beyond blessed,
Yeah.
because I know there's a lot of people don't have that. So
And did you going through that experience? Did you have? I mean, you've always been really wise and in tune with yourself and seeking answers and clarity. But you've also been always given the gift of more wisdom and more clarity. Going through such a traumatic experience, losing all of that weight, being in so much pain for an extended period of time, not sure and feeling to yourself, I'm not even sure if I'm going to live or not, and facing that at such a like huge way, right? Coming out of that and healing and recovering, is there more insight and guidance? Is there like, who's the Anthony now, right? And what did that give you?
it's a great question. I mean, yeah, we have to keep evolving, keep learning, give ourselves grace when we fall. But the Anthony now is I'm bullish on the vision we have for GNN. I'm all in, like both feet in.
Oh, okay. So this
Both
is
feet
this
in.
is
Oh,
interesting.
yeah, both
So
feet in.
this might have gave you
My whole
for the
body in.
but my for the first time,
Yeah.
because even when you were dealing with GNN before and
Yeah.
everything, it was 1 foot in,
Yeah.
1 foot out.
Yeah.
You're both feet in.
All bodies. Now, of course, you know how life works. The moment you make that commitment, right, certain things happen. Like I started getting other opportunities that weren't there before that commitment. And it was almost like it's testing me. How all in are you?
Yeah.
And it wasn't an all in regards to all this money. It was just like, I have to do this. And I started, now one of my business partners, the co-CEO, her name is Stephanie Sherris. I just started putting feelers out there. I need to meet this person, right? Stephanie ran IndieWire, helped sell it as COO. She global CEO of Cricket Media, and she had this, and then she had a child late in life, and decided, I just want to tell good stories. She already started another company, had raised some money, and I said, wouldn't it be great if you came over and be my, anyway. So we made it work, and because she's she's operator. Like I'm not. I already told you I'm not that person. So and then just listening to smarter people than myself in business, and then James Street, who I think I've introduced you to, the founder of Whaler Group and Lighthouse Studios, his insight into the creator economy and some of these things that are happening as Hollywood's transforming itself, and just listening, right? Like everyone's like, you need to do this. But it's like, okay, what am I doing? Like, what are we doing? And then talking to Jerry, hey, do you want me to truly pass on the baton? So the vision we have now for it is really fun. But what we realized is it's not about us.
Yeah.
If I could talk about the pivot, right?
Yeah.
Like GNN is a website and it's a newsletter right now. That's really what it is. And as I said, millions of people go there. But it's almost like you come if you're searching good news for that moment.
Yeah.
So but Jerry has been sharing other people's good news for 30 years. Next year will be 30 years, you know? And so what I realize is there's 4 C's that we need to focus on. The first one is across all of them, which is consistency. This is in life too, but just for business. So as a producer, as you know, a lot of us, or actor or director, we think of content as the first and last. Mm-hmm. Like, I sold it, I got paid. It usually it begins and ends with the content.
Yeah.
But really, what these creators have done, and what Disney and others have, but it's like consistent good content will create consistent good community. So I looked at Jerry, I was like, okay, you have been doing consistent good content, which allows you to create this consistent good community. Mm-hmm. When you have a consistent good community, you create a brand.
Yeah.
And because there's a lot of companies I don't need to mention, but I can mention the ones that have it, like Disney. If I say Pixar movie's coming out, you kind of know what that is,
Yeah.
right? That feeling. Or a Disney, old school Disney. If I say a Blumhouse movie coming out, probably it's a good horror movie,
Yeah.
right? That's a brand, that's a community he's built. But every other studio, for the most part, like, you don't care what studio distributes it. You just want to see if I like the actual piece of IP, right?
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily a brand; it's a business.
Yeah.
But consistent good content equals consistent good community. And once you have that trust, now you can do consistent good commerce, right? You can sell. You can sell them something because they trust you.
Yeah.
And so I started looking
That's
at
huge. I mean, yeah.
yeah. So that's how I reframed GNN. And so it was like, okay, we have silos. So it's like, okay, how do we take this? You know, where's the market going? Where are things? You know, obviously, creator economy. Darman just announced he's the chief kindness officer at the NFL. With Mr. Beast and all these people are doing. So we are going to really focus in on our GNN Super channel, the YouTube Super channel. Mm-hmm. So YouTube is now the #1 network in America, right? I think Neil Mohan said over 50% of people watch YouTube on television than they do on their phones.
Yeah. I mean,
So,
that's all I watch is YouTube.
right? So it's bigger screens, longer form, but the fastest growing demographic apparently is 50 plus. Mm-hmm. So there's a huge audience from 8-year-olds to 80-year-olds, right? And all between. So what we are going to do is we're going to continue the mission of what GNN's done and create GNN Studios, where it's like when you go to our YouTube, and this is, let's say, in the next 6 to 12 months, this is where we're going to pour a lot of our effort in. Good food, good science, good laughs, good people, good planet, good travel, these type of segments, good business. And then when you click on it, right, we'll aggregate the best content for you, right?
Oh, that's beautiful.
So
it's kind of like almost like how Pluto TV aggregated
exactly,
with YouTube.
but on YouTube, because we're the brand you trust.
Yeah.
You're trusting that we're going to give you.
Yeah, they just created different channels.
Yeah, exactly. So
but
you're trusting we'll upload, but then so we go to these creators and we're creating this whole good creator collective. So go to top creators or creators who just are consistent and say, hey, you got these libraries of content that are just sitting there. Let's package this stuff. We'll put it on. We'll do I always say, like MTV for good. MTV didn't create the videos; they just reported on them, right?
Yeah.
So we'll do our wraparounds, good business show, and so share that with the creator. But what it does is it allows us to have this massive more content, eyeballs, and our partnership with Reach TV. I've known Woody before he started Reach, and he's in 85 airports to reach almost 60 million people a month. So between his reach and our reach, we have this massive reach where we could to really be able to amplify a message. Now you're talking about what are brands wanting? They want safe space. They want to be known as a good brand. They want,
especially now.
Yeah. So
I mean, so many people are sick and they can't handle it anymore. We have the most stressed
yeah,
and most anxious society than we ever had in history.
yeah,
And it's largely because of what we're consuming and all of the conflict that is going. Now, I know that there's been cycles of conflict that has always been around, even, when Jefferson was running for president or something like that. You can look at, okay, they talked about each other, right? But it is so in your face. and people are so stimulated. I mean, the average person was spending like 8 hours a day in front of their screen or more.
Yeah, we have that data. I mean, everything you just said is true. I mean, 94% of Americans want more good. They, mental illness, all this stuff's on all-time high. If you look at the Gen Z market, they grew up with this, right? Like they grew up on these phones.
Yeah.
They grew up with information overload.
Yeah, I
and
mean,
now
they're
with
probably
AI,
like
all
10,
these things,
12
what's
hours a
real,
day.
what's not real. So yeah, I mean, the cool thing about the Gen Z and the younger audience, man, they're drinking less. They're more focused on volunteer work. It's like there's a lot of good,
Yeah.
right? And so the idea is people are going to eat pizza. We're like the veggies on a pizza, right? Get your veggies in.
Yeah.
But really what it comes down to is the science. This is where it really changes the game. There's been tons of studies on the powerful impact of negative news, right? A few minutes of negative news sparks your cortisol levels. So what does the opposite do, right? So the idea is get 5 minutes of good news a day, right? What is that? Like hope and awe. And so as we took these 30,000, 25,000 articles, we synthesized it's like what unites the left and the right? What unites the religious and the non-religious, or the Christian and the Muslim or the Jew or whatever? And really what it comes down to is 3 buckets. And these are like the buckets that we're focused on. It's human kindness, human potential, and human ingenuity. Like mainly around that, right? And like those are big buckets, but that when the grandmother picks up her car to help her grandchild,
Yeah.
no one's asked, well, is she Democrat or Republican?
Yeah.
Right? What's her religious affiliation? Right? It's just a great story to be inspired. Right? So, and now there's been incredible data. This is amazing, that states that AWE, is one of the only emotions that has been scientifically proven to lower one of the hardest levels of inflammation in your body.
Wow.
How do you get awe? It's a great science. You should look all this stuff up. You get awe by looking up at the stars, at touching a tree, praying, meditating. That's the science of why we meditate or breathe or pray, is to be in a state of awe. Like you start breaking down science of the rituals of practice of religion, and you go, wow, again, if I change the way I look, like I fast, right? I fast a couple days a week, but then there's 30 days where we fast the whole time, right?
Yeah.
Well, in 2016, the Nobel Peace Prize winner discovered that there's a thing called autophagy. What does that mean? It means if you fast for I think it's like 16 plus hours, your good cells start eating your dead cells and turning it into energy, your precancerous cells. So this idea of 1,400 years ago or thousands of years ago in other traditions where you fast, and then if you do it for like a 30-day period, you're literally resetting your entire body.
Yeah.
But when I fast with other people, I notice that we eat a lot at night. That defeats the purpose. So if you, again, I'm trying to break down just the stuff and go back into the science of why we do what we do.
Yeah, because a lot of people don't know.
No, we're all, I mean, literally, it's crazy. When you start thinking about it, we're all like robots, just kind of like.
Yeah, that reminds
Going
me of
here.
there's a story that I forget. I think it was a client told me one time they were cooking a roast, and they cut off the ends of the roast, and the husband goes to this client or whatnot, or if I heard it as a story, I apologize, but the story's the same. Why do you cut off the ends of the roast? I don't know. It's what my mom always did. She calls her mom and says, Mom, I just need to know, I don't know, we'll just call him Henry's asking why I cut off the ends of the roast. I say, because you always did it. And so why did you do it? I don't know. It's what grandma always did.
Right.
And she calls her, the grandma's still alive, calls the grandma and says, why did you cut off the ends of the roast? Oh, we only had one baking pan and it wouldn't fit.
Exactly. Touche. Or some would say touche. Yeah, exactly.
We don't know why we do
know.
it.
We don't know. But that's where you get the what's going on in politics right now. We're parroting whatever we hear. But one of the commercials I want to do so bad, like when we close our fund and do this thing, is I see this image of a bunch of people at the gym eating like burgers, donuts on the treadmill, like just all the candies. And the question is like, what's wrong with this picture, right?
Yeah.
Because no one would ever go to the gym and do that, right? At my gym, this morning, like they should eat a donut. Like at least they'll enjoy it more than the death, destruction, and mayhem on the TV screens that they're watching.
Yeah.
At least you enjoy the donut more.
Yeah.
But that pain, that suffering, that crap you see. Now, I'm not saying don't be informed. There's a difference between being informed and being obsessed.
Yeah.
And if you're informed, at least you're conscious and be at least subconsciously and consciously aware that, okay, this is it. Can I do anything about this? Oh, I can? Cool, let me do it. Right? Call your representative, do these things. Those are great. But then you got to let it go
Yeah.
and at least get your hope and awe in.
Yeah. Because if
For
you
your
don't-
own self. It's like, none of these people that are adamantly about any of these issues or whatever is consuming them, would they ever say, or they would ever think they'd say, stop drinking water, stop eating your veggies, stop doing all this stuff. Like, no, don't work out, don't work. They're like, no, I got to do all this
Yeah.
for my body, right? But I got to fight, but I got to do all this other stuff. Yeah, okay, cool. So also get the hope and awe in.
Yeah.
Know that good is everywhere, right? It's important to. It's not a la-la. It's not like woo-woo stuff.
No, I
It's,
mean,
it gives
so
you that
many,
fuels.
So many people have said something similar, like, right, like the secret of living is giving, or like,
Yeah, we all know it.
and we have that experience if we've ever been in awe. I mean, I think anybody that has traveled and went to the Grand Canyon and you just look out, you're
Correct.
like, you, it's almost like you can't breathe, but you can breathe, but
Yeah.
it's not like you're out of breath, but you're there in that space, and that's that awe feeling. And like you said, when you look at the stars or really beautiful family moments or connection or seeing crazy, like, I mean, I think anytime I go to Cirque du Soleil, I'm like in awe. I'm like, how
Sure.
does the body do
Yeah,
that? You know?
yeah.
But those types of feelings do something to us.
Yeah.
And that's what you're creating. You're creating this movement of conscious media to
Yeah.
take in what you need to be able to live your life in a space of good currency.
Yeah. And we just want to make it fun, entertaining, quick, easy,
Yeah.
right? So that's the YouTube strategy. Then obviously we have some other shows that we're developing ourselves that we're really proud of, featured film, docs, podcast. This one we want to share. But yeah, it's
But look at your whole pivot, right? And from the teenage boy that was listening to your dad and having him go through his struggle of losing everything with a bad contract to going to taking that moment to say, I just want my authentic self, growing up in a family with, 5 of you, and you're just wanting your own voice too, and meeting May and Muhammad Ali and allowing yourself to keep on asking, and just you just continued to ask, but you also always had this vibration of good navigating through you. It's beautiful.
Well, you do too, and that's why we met. And I hope this helped. We're all on this journey, continuing to do this journey. I think at the end of the day, it's what good did you do for yourself and others today is an easy question to ask yourself. And maybe you're right. Maybe we'll figure out when this podcast comes out, and maybe I'll end up doing a push on GNN with the Good Currency Journal for this. But I think it's just a matter of like, everyone knows these answers. They know that there's a finite period. It's like, they say we live once, live it up. I mean, there's some truth to that, but like,
But we also
how are you living it up?
But we also live in the forgetting,
That's
right?
right.
So as much as we might know it, we need to be reminded.
Correct. And I say this, but I don't mean it seriously. When I was like, one day I'll write a book called like, think like an elephant and remember like a goldfish type thing. Like, right? I won't, but it's the idea that, the past is the past as we know, and the future is unknown. The present is a gift. We hear these sayings, but how do you take anything that I'm saying or you're saying or others saying that motivates and turn it into an actionable thing, right?
Yeah.
That feeling you get looking at Grand Canyon, it's amazing. You can go to, like we said, you go outside, or if you can't see the stars, you can touch a tree. If you can't touch a tree, you can, there's ways to escape, to get that all to fuel yourself. Mm-hmm. But it's important to at least try to figure out the way to motivate yourself. As Tobias is a great example of 28 and a half years, or Nick Yaris with 23 years on death row. I mean, there are people constantly reinventing themselves, pivoting. And I
Yeah.
think that this podcast is important so that whoever's listening, realize like it's, and also take some time to ask, why are you doing what you're doing personally, professionally, and spiritually?
Even if you have to break down the word and look it up in the dictionary of what it is
That's
that you're
true.
looking for.
That's
But
true.
and a good reminder is that, like you said, and with the guy that owns the Viome company or
Yeah,
whatever,
Naveed.
life is like this. You don't want to be flatlined, right? And that expect for difficulties to come your way because that means you're living, and that also means that you have an opportunity to grow.
Can I share one last thing?
Yeah.
It's something I'm riffing on right now. And I've been on this since October. It's sort of like this bio-spiritual hack thing
Okay.
I've been doing a research paper on. But for your audience, because it doesn't matter whatever their background is in spirituality or religious, whether you believe in Moses or not, you've heard the story of the staff, right? And parting the Red Sea, right? Let's say, whatever version you know. Or, Jesus curing leprosy or whatever, bringing the dead to life, whatever. I started really been big on this last couple months. Why do I need to know those stories? Or why have they been reported on, these miracles?
Yeah.
So let's just take the staff. The staff is a piece of dead wood. In our tradition, the staff, the dead wood, was used to shepherd, right? But also turned into a snake, also parted the Red Sea, all these things, right? Piece of dead wood. So what was it? Was it a miraculous dead wood that was ordained by God to part the seas or whatever it may be? Was it Moses, his power? If that was the case, how is that relevant to my life? Or whatever. I'm just thinking of these stories that we hear,
Yeah.
these miracles. I think the miracle, what I've been riffing on is I think we all possess dead wood. Whether it's our phones, whether it's whatever. And therefore, the only thing that stops us from parting the Red Sea, so to speak, is our own true focus on, I'm doing this with the power and might of the force behind me, right?
Yeah.
For good. So I'll give you one last example. We all know in science, and a lot of scientists, some of them are atheists, they don't believe. So so this is just a science-based thing. If you want to have a drug in the market, you have to do clinical studies, right? And they do, let's just say for ease of example, you have a new drug on the market to cure one disease, and you put 50 people, 100 people have the disease, right? You put 50 in a room, they get the drug. You put another 50 in a room, they get the placebo, right? The fake one. Why do we do that? It's because we know how powerful our mind is. That the people who got the fake drug could still get the same, if not better, benefits than this.
Yeah.
It always happens in every
Yeah.
study, right?
Everyone.
So we know these stories. We know that this is possible. Now, if we took those 100 people, didn't separate them, put them all in the same room, said, here's 50 bottles of the thing, here's 50 fake bottles, and we're going to mix them all up. Now, you guys just grab whatever. 50 people would still literally get the real one. 50 people would get the fake one. But now there's doubts because you don't know which one you got. You know that there's one that has it, one that, do I have it or not? The placebo wouldn't work. For those who go, I don't know, maybe this isn't, maybe this not. Probably not. Probably didn't get it. Yeah, it's not. I don't know, maybe it is. I don't know. Right? We start talking ourselves out of these things. And as soon as you break that, it's done. It won't work. You're done.
Yeah.
But those who have, like, did you not watch, and this may be outdated by the time, but you can go on Netflix and watch it, the Free Solo, right? The guy who just climbed the
I
the
saw
tower
it. I was
Taipei.
like,
I couldn't watch it. I couldn't watch it live, right? There's no way. Do you think he had fear, but not for one moment did that dude think he was going to fall.
no, he was just even like this for part of it.
He was standing up. I'm like, sit down, dude. I watched it taped. I knew he survived, but sit down, the wind. I'm looking at that guy as I'm going through what I'm going through. I'm telling you, like, my new way of thinking. That guy, yeah, and he said he had fear, but he trained, he visualized everything.
Yeah.
While we're all on our edge because we don't have that, he's like, I'm good. That is a true. Now, could he have slipped? What? Because here's what I go. Imagine if he goes, if I'm with him and I have doubt, right? I'm like coaching him. Oh, I wouldn't be the right coach for him. I'm like, nah, man, get that rope. But he goes, okay. He goes, I got it. You know, I visualize the whole thing. Yeah, but dude, what you can't visualize is that bird that's going to come over here, or a bird just pooped and you slip. What about the rain start coming out of nowhere? What?
Yeah.
And analysis paralysis. We don't do it. We don't believe, and so therefore, we're stuck. We're stagnant. He just was like, I'm going. I'm sure those thoughts entertained, like the dust or the bird poop or something that could come that I couldn't foresee.
Yeah, but
he
he saw right through it.
He just believed it. So anyway, that's something I'm on. I'm like really trying to add that to my game. But what that does is again, it goes to conviction. You have to really figure out, why am I doing what I'm doing?
Yeah. It's removing that doubt.
Yeah.
So if I'm hearing correctly, it's getting in line with your truth and
That's it.
and what really lights you up as far as your purpose and your passion.
Yes.
Right. And then just being laser focused
That's
and
it.
knowing, because that will give you the ability to be like Moses, to part the Red Sea.
Yeah.
Because there's such certainty.
That's right.
And then those are the people that have the such certainty that we look at, and it gives us the awe feeling.
It gives us the awe.
And when he's on top of that tower, the world's tallest tower in Thailand or wherever it was, I was like, Taiwan. Yeah. I was like, oh my God, this is like.
Yeah. And we call it, because science can't figure out, we call it a miracle.
Yeah.
But I think we all possess a miracle. We're always walking miracles. We just get in our own way. So I think, so anybody listening goes, yeah, maybe, it's not easy what he did, but he knew what he wanted. It was right there. I want to climb a mountain. I want to climb a building. It's black and white. This is what I want to do. Now, remember I told you with the athletes that really knows what they want to do. Maybe you're listening, you don't know what you want to do.
Yeah.
Well, break it down into those steps, your personal, your professional, your spiritual. Think about what you want to focus on, and just be present for that moment. And it could be as small as, I want to cook, I'm going to go home, I'm going to cook this meal for myself. And I want it to taste the best. I don't want to rush through this meal, right? Or for my family or whatever. I think there's ways that most of us who are still trying to figure out, we can just do these daily little things that will add up to that big. We may not all climb a big, tower that everyone's going to watch, but we have our own towers to climb, so to speak. But anyway.
We do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this has been fun.
Thank you so much. And when you have any type of doubt and you're going through life, that's when you tune in to Good News Network.
Yes.
You get a little dose of positivity and help create that awe feeling inside of yourself. And hopefully I can convince Anthony to release that journal, because I think that's really helpful.
That'd be great.
Thank you so
Christine.
much.
Thank
you for joining. Thank you for listening. We'll put all the links down below so that you can find this amazing human being on his journey of helping you on your journey. Thank you so much. Until next time.